just wondering, do we want to ask people to change their name so that their agency is in either?
Yes, that's planned. It's planned in the text. Thank you.
Okay, I'll actually go ahead and do that.
And I think we have already some colleagues connecting. Hello, Rachel, for example.
Hello, Katinka.
How are you?
Fine, and you?
Good, thank you. Hello, Martina.
Hi, Martina.
So we have is this linked to the meeting?
Exactly.
For the working group, or is it for the
This is
initiative, the presentation?
the presentation,
Okay.
which will start in a couple of minutes.
Okay, so it's just by chance that we are only.
Yes.
Only but I just saw Renata's message, and this is why I clicked on the link. How are you doing?
Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hi, Indran. Great to see you.
Good to see you. Another part of the world. Great.
Yes. So you have a new background.
I have a new background. Hey, Oscar, how are you?
Indran, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm very well, thanks. The old circuit is all back. So.
Excellent. So delighted to have you now on this side. Huh?
Great.
Where are you physically?
Physically in Durban, South Africa. I'll be in Rome in 2 weeks' time. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. When things improve over there, right?
Yeah. And I've got that should be fine, the travels and things. So I guess it'll work.
Excellent.
Good.
Morning.
Great.
Good afternoon, Fabrizio.
Good afternoon. How are you, Oscar?
Good to see you. Hey, good to see you.
And good afternoon to the other colleagues.
Everybody. Yeah.
Hi, Indra.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning.
Hi, Sarah. I think I've met before. Let's see.
Okay.
So we will have Sophie Certain from the Independent Evaluation Group also joining us in this session. So we will welcome her in a few minutes as well.
Okay, so good afternoon from Rome and good morning from or evening to the colleagues connecting from different time zones. While we wait for people to connect, we have prepared 2 polls to warm up and to introduce the topic of today's presentation. So in a couple of seconds, I think the polls will show up on your screen. Okay, so the first question is a bit of a warm-up question, is what type of Zoomer are you? There's multiple choice answer. And the second question is to get to know your knowledge on today's topic, which is the Global Evaluation Initiative. So feel free to respond. We give you a couple of minutes. Thank you. Good. Today, hi to everyone joining. Hello to everyone joining. I've shared a poll with you. A couple more minutes. Okay, Katinka, maybe we can share the poll results. Okay, so I see that most of you are responding to emails and multitasking while Zoom calls. And also most of you have heard of the GEI through UNEG before, which is really great. Thank you so much for taking the poll. We are ready to start today's session now, and I wish you a warm welcome to all of you for this introduction and discussion about the Global Evaluation Initiative. The session is an initiative of two UNEG working groups. It's the partnership working group that I coordinate together with my colleagues Katinka and Thomas, and also the NECT working group, which is coordinated by Heather and Renata. In both of these working groups, we really felt that there's importance to have a closer look at the GEI, and in particular at the potential connections to UNEG's work, and it was a timely manner. So on the agenda today for this session, we have an introduction by Oscar Garcia, Director of the UNDP Independent Office of Evaluation, a presentation by Heather Bryant, which is Evaluation Advisor at UNDP Independent Office of Evaluation. We will also have a discussion session with more polls, a time for a Q&A, and also we will share a whiteboard with you to note and to gather all your ideas and suggestions. Please use the chat box to share your comments and also your questions. We also welcome you to raise your hand to indicate you wish to speak during the Q&A session. And it would also be great if you could change your name and put your agency in your name so we can track you a bit better. So this being said, I will now give the floor to Oscar.
Thank you very much, and Sarah, colleagues, it's a real pleasure to be with you today. You know, I always love to interact with UNEG working groups. I think the working groups are really at the heart of what UNEG does, because it allows us to exchange knowledge, to learn from each other, to get new practices. And this is a great occasion to share with you the launch of the Global Evaluation Initiative. As you all know, our evaluation policy, the UNDP evaluation policy, very clearly states the priority of national evaluation capacity. This is part of our mandate, and therefore we have been trying to do this for many years. And UNDP has spearheading this effort through the organization of national evaluation capacity conferences since year 2009, where we provided a platform for different countries and representatives of civil society to come forward and share their experiences in terms of strengthening national evaluation capacity. We know that that strengthening is critical for the achievement of internationally agreed goals, including the SDGs. And therefore, we see as a great contribution from our evaluation community to the achievement of sustainable development goals. There is a however, or a but, because we all know that it is important and we all want to do more. However, just teaching by doing in a single evaluation exercise is kind of limited in scope. Of course, we can enhance the capacity of a few stakeholders when we conduct a particular evaluation in that country. But we think that more is needed, more systemic approach to address the capacity development constraints in countries. And that is why, since the time I was in IFAD, wearing Indran's hat, we really embraced from the independent evaluation perspective, the PRIME initiative, together with the CLEAR centers, to design a program of training on monitoring and evaluation for rural development project managers around the globe. And that was a great partnership that really helped us to reach out more to more constituencies, more countries, and with specialized institutions who were really excellent centers of academic centers that really were specialized in training people. But in addition to that, now at the end of 2019, we were in touch with the independent evaluation group of the World Bank. And I hope that Sophie is with us today, because she has been really the soul of this initiative for so many years. And with Alison Evans and with Indran, we had a very good and frank conversation saying we need to do more. We definitely need to do more. And we can do more if we do it together. Instead of our individual efforts, if we put our resources, our capacity together in a broader partnership, I am confident that we can really make a difference in terms of our contribution to strengthen national evaluation capacities. And that is the GEI. It is really a broad partnership, which Heather will explain now in more detail. But I just wanted to invite you to share with us first our enthusiasm for this initiative, because we are really committed that we think we can achieve a synergetic effort in which the contribution of all of us, all the agencies that are members of the GEI, including the bilateral donors, the multilateral development banks, the United Nations agencies, all the partners, we can contribute more than what we can do it in isolation. And that is why we are so excited to invite you to join this partnership. And Heather will get into how it is shaping up as a platform for a combined effort to support national evaluation capacities. Sarah, thank you very much for the invitation. Let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar, for introducing the rationale of the initiative. And I now hand over to Heather, who will give us more details and go through the main lines of work of the GEI.
Great, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here and to see so many of you here. So thank you, Oscar and Sarah. And so now I am going to try to share my screen here. Can you see it? Yes, great.
Yes.
So let me start with just sort of what is the Global Evaluation Initiative. And in fact, Oscar has already said this really quite nicely. It's a global inclusive partnership that's committed to developing country-owned sustainable monitoring and evaluation frameworks and capacities to promote the use of evidence in public decision-making and to enhance accountability and achieve better results. And you could ask why the Global Evaluation Initiative and why now? Oscar's also given you a little bit of background to this, but the idea for this initiative emerged, or we joined the conversations in 2019. And at that time, as the concept for the initiative was being developed, the focus was primarily on the needs for stronger monitoring and evaluation capacities and systems in order to facilitate progress towards the SDGs. Just to cite one set of figures, a 2019 OECD UNDP report highlighted that while 91% of national strategies approved after 2015 reference the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals, only about 35% of governments had the data and systems to track implementation of their national strategies. However, as you all know, since that report was published, the world has been turned on its head with the COVID crisis. And this hasn't made capacities for M&E less relevant, quite the opposite. UNDP, and I'm sure all of your agencies have been arguing the same thing, that more than ever, we need bold and effective policy actions to guide development to help countries turn around and get back on track to the SDGs. And in a context of even more limited resources, policymakers need to know that they're investing those resources wisely. And how do they do that? We argue, as I'm sure all of you would too, that policymakers need evidence from monitoring data and evaluations to tell them as quickly as possible which policies are working, where, and for whom. And so the GEI was created. Meanwhile, as you know, quite a bit has been happening on the UN front as well. As you probably recall, UN General Assembly resolution adopted in 2014 emphasizes the importance of building capacity for the evaluation of development activities at country level. As you also know, UNEG Norm 9 on national evaluation capacities refers to the resolution, stating that national evaluation capacities should be supported upon the request of member states. And the importance of national evaluation capacities is reflected in many of our evaluation policies. Oscar has mentioned the UNDP policy, but there are several others. Just a couple of examples. UNICEF's evaluation policy devotes a whole section to national evaluation capacity development. And UNFPA's policy articulates, I quote, its commitment in enhancing youth capabilities and meaningfully engaging in evaluation, as well as strengthening national evaluation capacities by enhancing national evaluation systems. And these are not the only ones, but I will stop here with those examples. And as you know, if not before, you know from the beginning of the introduction to this session, UNEG has a working group on national evaluation capacity development, which is currently preparing a report on the implementation of the 2014 GEI resolution. And there's also work underway to develop a new General Assembly resolution on country-led evaluations of the SDGs that the group's report will hopefully feed into and support. So I think you'll agree, as Oscar's already said, that there is a great deal of potential for collaboration between UNEG and its members and the GEI. So let me go on with a bit more about what the GEI is doing. The GEI uses, as do many of our own capacity development frameworks, the idea that there are three main levels of capacity: the overall enabling environment, institutional capacities, and individual capacities. And the GEI seeks to develop all three levels through four main areas of work. One, technical assistance and advisory services, primarily to public sector institutions. Two, strengthening a cadre of evaluators, M&E specialists, and other evaluation stakeholders in both the public and non-public sectors. Three, generating or codifying knowledge about evaluation capacity development and evaluation themes of interest. And four, sharing that knowledge. This slide represents the GEI theory of change, and I know there's quite a bit of detail and you probably can't read it, but I included it so that when we share the slides afterwards, you would have access to it. But in short, the GEI's longer term outcome is that governments in developing countries use evaluation and evaluative knowledge for adaptive management and policy and programmatic decision making. And to get there, the idea is that governments need interrelated capacities in place in order to produce and use evaluations. And this includes an understanding of the role of M&E in decision-making, a regulatory or policy environment that favors the commissioning, conduct, and use of evaluation, institutions that have the necessary frameworks, processes, systems, and tools in order to facilitate the commissioning and conducting of evaluations, as well as sufficient individual capacities to actually carry out quality evaluations. And within this whole process, there's of course a need for civil society and citizen engagement in the process. So the UNEG National Evaluation Capacity Development Working Group is also working on a theory of change adapted to UNEG, but it really intersects with this one. So let me go into a little bit more detail on each of the four areas of intervention. As I was saying, the first one focuses on strengthening evaluation systems and capacities, primarily in the form of technical advisory services. And this can include support to advocacy and awareness raising, diagnostics, developing capacity development strategies, supporting national evaluation policies or legislation, supporting institutional capacity development, or supporting country-led evaluations. And for me, what's important is that part of the vision of the GEI is not only to provide these services, but to also help connect different capacity development service providers to those in need. That is, to foster coordination and synergies between the different initiatives. And the CLEAR centers, the Centers for Learning and Evaluation for results are now part of the GEI network and are providing a number of these services. And as Oscar was mentioning, UN agencies are already engaged in this kind of capacity development support as well. UNICEF has been a particularly active partner and has already been partnering with the CLEAR centers to support different aspects of capacity development. UNDP has provided support, often as part of a package of support to development, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of national development plans. UNV is partnering with the UN Peacebuilding Support Office and others to engage UNV national research and evaluation specialists to provide services in several countries. The list goes on. And in fact, the UNEG working group is going to be sharing quite a bit more on this in the months to come. So I hope you'll forgive me if I haven't mentioned all of the examples and all the things your agencies are doing. The second area of intervention is strengthening a cadre of evaluators. This is really building capacity, conducting training programs, providing opportunities for internships, fellowships, and mentoring programs, and also supporting curricula and diploma development in the area of evaluation. And as part of the network, we not only have PRIME, which was mentioned by Oscar, but IPDET and its Francophone equivalent, the PIFED, now come under the GEI umbrella. And these are just a couple of examples of training programs that already exist, and there will be more to come. And the GEI team working on this business line is also engaging in discussions on professionalization and competencies frameworks, as well as exploring options for a database of existing training programs. And these are topics of direct interest to the UNEG working group on professionalization. And we've already organized a very preliminary first conversation between members of the GEI team and a couple of members of that working group. So there's quite a bit of potential for collaboration there. The third area, generating knowledge, includes knowledge about evaluation capacity development and good practices, lessons learned, what works in what contexts, and also what hasn't worked so well. This will also include guidance notes and toolkits for use by those engaging in evaluation capacity development support. And this also includes research and collaboration on evaluation topics of interest. And 3 key themes have already been identified, and work is beginning. And the first one is gender. So there's an obvious potential to connect to and a potential for the GEI to learn from the UNEG working group on human rights, gender equality, and disability. Another theme is youth. In addition to developing a GEI youth strategy, the GEI team is engaged in discussions with Eval Youth to identify areas of collaboration and how the GEI can promote young and emerging evaluators. The third area is climate change, and we may find areas of resonance here with the working group that's focused on integrating environmental and social impact into evaluations. Fourth, sharing knowledge. There's 2 main elements to this. One, the face-to-face and virtual sharing that takes place through events such as the NEC conferences that Oscar has already mentioned, that UNDP has been organizing every 2 years since 2009, as well as the G-Local Evaluation Week, which many UN agencies have been participating in as well. And then the second element is the GEI Knowledge Platform, which is still under development and which is designed to host material linked to all areas of GEI work and its partnerships, including country experiences, training materials, links to knowledge sharing events, etc. And the idea is to link this to the Better Evaluation Platform, which, as you know, includes a toolbox of methods, processes, approaches, and associated resources. So the idea isn't to reinvent the wheel, but to offer a new platform that will fill gaps between the existing ones. So this has been a quick overview of the areas of GEI intervention. So now just a few words on the partnership and governance arrangements. So the GEI is a multi-donor trust fund managed by the World Bank Independent Evaluation Group. And at the helm is a partnership council, which includes all of the funding partners, also referred to as core partners. And then an implementation committee will be created and will be made up of all core and associate partners. And associate partners include agencies that wish to partner with the GEI, but without necessarily channeling their ECD funding directly into the trust fund. And in this case, memoranda of understanding are set out the expected areas of collaboration with the GEI. When it comes to implementation of activities, for example, in a given country, a whole range of partnerships can be established to promote synergies and coordination at the local level. And the day-to-day running of the initiative is handled by a global team, of which I'm very proud and pleased to be a part of as a secondee from UNDP, which will, when COVID permits, be based in Brussels. And the new GEI program manager is Dugan Fraser, who's lurking here on the call, previously the director of CLEAR Anglophone Africa, and I'm sure many of you know him and have already worked with him. And finally, the GEI will also be establishing an advisory board, which will provide inputs to the Partnership Council and the Implementation Committee, and may include representatives from program countries, evaluation experts, representatives from other networks, etc. So just very quickly, a probably not quite complete list of partners to date of the GEI, including as funding partners, Sweden, Germany, Norway, Canada, Finland, Denmark, the IEG and the IEO, IFID, and the IADB IEO. And then we have, as part of the associate partners, include the IPDET, ENAP, the École Nationale d'Administration Publique from Canada, the CLEAR Centers is already mentioned, the Islamic Development Bank, the African Development Bank, World Food Programme, Better Evaluation, the Camões Institute in Portugal, 3IE, and the Jeff Evaluation Office as well. So I hope that this has given you an idea of the work that the GEI is undertaking and potential areas of partnership with UNEG, its working groups, and its member agencies. So with this, I would like to hand back over to Oscar if he has any additional thoughts to add, or to Katinka for the next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heather. Brilliantly put. No, over to Katinka. I don't have anything to add.
Yes, thank you so much, Heather, for this interesting presentation and very clear presentation. Before we break for discussion and comments parts, we would like to continue a little bit with the polling to hear your thoughts. And before we launch the new poll, I just wanted to show you the results I still owe you for the previous poll. And for those who joined us later, we had a little poll in the beginning. So I sincerely hope that you prove us wrong, or you prove the poll wrong, that you have not been responding to your emails and been multitasking during this presentation. And we also hope that even though you had some knowledge already about the GEI, that you have learned a little bit more after this presentation, or maybe through the discussion as well. So with this, let me go to the next poll. That will appear on your screen in a few seconds. So we have prepared two poll questions. One is with regards to what did you find most interesting from the GEI pillars? And you can select several ones. And the second question is with regards to actually potentially seeing yourself, your organization, your UNEG working group, or UNEG as a whole as a partner to the initiative. Please indicate what you think is the most appropriate answer, or multiple answers, of course. Thank you. I see results are coming in. Please continue to vote. We will have another 2 minutes. Yes, more than half of you have already voted. Okay, 20 more seconds.
It's great that you have the poll in the same application without having to go to another software.
Exactly. Though we all like Mentimeter, I'm big fans of Mentimeter. Now at least we have all-in-ones. So I've just closed the polling and you should now be able to see the results. So we can see that actually there's a quite balanced response. It seems like all pillars are almost equally interesting. But the number one response is develop a culture of evidence-based decision-making in partner countries with 43%, but closely followed by actually almost all of the other pillars. And yeah, many of you also said 33% that all of the above is equally interesting. And with regards to partnerships, so many of you actually said 57% to be precise, that UNEG as a network should become a partner of the GEI. And quite a few, 33% actually also said that their individual agencies should become partners. But we also have 22% who are already partners, as we have seen on the presentation, during the presentation from Heather. A few of you are indeed already part of the partnership. And then also we have 9 of you who said that their specific working group, and maybe you are from the Gender, Human Rights and Disability group or the Environment group, or maybe other working groups from UNEG, that you are interested to partner from your working group with the initiative. With these results, let me hand over to Sarah, who will introduce you to the discussion part.
Thank you so much, Katinka. So we really wanted to make this session as participatory as possible and to gather as much feedback from you also as possible. This is why we have created an online virtual mural canvas, which I will share with you just now on the chat. So I would like to kindly ask you to open the link that I have shared with you in the chat. I will also start sharing my screen, so you will see it, and also I will guide you through it. So following up on Heather's great and very informative presentation, we would like to ask you to share any thoughts, suggestions, and ideas regarding the 4 different main areas of work from the GEI. This can be done by posting a sticky note. So these are the yellow notes that you see on the screen. Or you can also just double click on the screen to create one. You can also select the sticky notes from this sidebar on the left, but we have already created some on the screen for you, so it's easier. To navigate the document, you can also just zoom in and zoom out using your mouse or your cursor. For both us, the partnership working group, also the NECT working group, this canvas will really enable us to read your thoughts and also explore any possible linkages and collaborations within the GEI. It will also enable us to see which areas you are the most interested in and where we can focus on the most. The sticky notes are completely anonymous. So, however, if you wish to make a suggestion, a very concrete suggestion, and us to follow up on that, please feel free to add your name and your agency's email address in the sticky note. So please access the link that we have shared with you on the chat box. And Thomas, in a couple of minutes, you can take over for the Q&A session.
Okay, perfect. I already see lots of cursors on the mural moving around, and it seems like you know how to use the platform. For the Q&A, if you have any questions, please raise your hand or post your question to the chat. I will then forward the question to Oscar or Heather. And yeah, feel free to ask whatever you want. Okay, from the mural, it looks like everybody is busy adding their notes and inputs. That's highly appreciated. Thank you very much. And yes, with the link, you should be able to just add notes as a visitor without having to register for the platform. So feel free just to click on the link. Do not enter any information. You can anonymously add notes in the corresponding corners.
I see that there's a question if there's a COVID adaptation plan. If so, how do you aim to achieve your goals on distance? Maybe we can start off with that question, Oscar or Heather.
Oscar, do you want to say something?
Please go ahead. I was on the mural a bit distracted, sorry.
I think we're already living our COVID adaptation plan. Work is really forging ahead, and a lot of it is happening exactly like this through Zoom and other platforms. A lot of the training courses are being adapted to be delivered virtually. As I'm sure you all know, IPDET already had its first virtual edition last summer and is moving ahead with the second one this summer. Other courses are being adapted to online. A lot of consultations with governments are happening online. The capacity needs assessments are being done through virtual means where it isn't possible to travel, and some people are still managing to travel. So I think this last year has taught us a lot about how to function in a virtual world, and so we're applying that to the GEI as well.
Thank you, Heather. I see that someone visiting Crab added another question. What are the human and financial resources available to the GEI? And what are the expected outputs in the next 6 months? Oscar or Heather?
Yes, may I invite Dugan or Sophie perhaps to chip in, welcoming them to the session, who may have more really precise and accurate information to respond to that question. Please, Sophie or Dugan, welcome.
Dugan, shall I take this?
Yes, we can hear
Please.
You. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thanks, Oscar and Heather, for having us. So the GEI is supported by a trust fund that has been financed by a number of bilateral donors, as well as some multilateral and UN agencies, actually. The trust fund is managed by the World Bank, by IEG, actually. And at the moment, we have about $20 million, which fundamentally is not much, given the needs, if you want, that Oscar and Heather have highlighted. And so we hope that we can demonstrate early successes and continue raising more support to be able to scale up and reach more countries. I'll stop here, Oscar. Heather, over to you.
And perhaps Dugan on the human resources?
Thanks, Oscar. So we, as mentioned earlier, we have a team that comprises about 12 people, not all of whom work full-time at the GEI. We will be based, when travel is a little easier, at the Brussels office of the World Bank. And some of the people will be located in other sites. The team are pretty much just the front end of the GEI, and we essentially want to be specializing in partnering and building relationships with the CLEAR centers and IPDET, but with a range of other partners. And I think our real job is to be building a coalition of people who share a similar approach and worldview, and providing resources and trying to move from the planning and the kind of thinking around this stuff to getting deep into the building of country systems and developing an understanding of what works well. So the process is well underway. Obviously, things are difficult with COVID, and it's been a challenge, but we've already made good progress. And we are, as Heather mentioned in her presentation, starting to focus on a number of strategic questions like gender and feminism, climate change, youth. But at the core of everything is a concern around partnerships and making sure that these are sustainable and culturally appropriate and context relevant is kind of where we're at right now. Thanks, Oscar.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dugan.
Thank you, Dugan and Sophie. Very glad to have you both online. There is another question on sharing M&E knowledge, which is, will the GEI also link to statistics offices in countries and to those in charge of SDG reporting? Over to Oscar and Heather.
Yes, thank you. I mean, as the partnership is quite open, and therefore it will include a myriad of stakeholders, particularly at the country level. And I am sure statistical office will be an important component. But let me twist a bit the response and the angle to the question, which is, as you are aware, there were efforts to strengthen statistical capacity in countries for many years and various initiatives. And I think we need to learn from the mistakes of those capacity development efforts to try not to make the same mistakes when we try to strengthen monitoring and evaluation capacities. So I see that as another way also to engage with the statistics community, not just as one of the providers for important data to conduct our work, but also as an opportunity for learning lessons from their experience in terms of what works and what doesn't work in terms of supporting national capacities. Over to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Maybe a follow-up question to that. Will the GEI also include staff in sectoral ministries and technical ministries?
Heather, do you want to take that on?
Sure, yes. I mean, what happens in each country will depend on the context of that country, entry points, but the idea is that the GEI will be working with different institutions that are motivated to strengthen their M&E systems. And so that might be a central level entity that has responsibility for coordinating the evaluation function, but it could also be with individual ministries and working with their internal system. So yes, it will.
Thank you very much, Heather. I see another question on the strengthening part. Will the GEI be the one-stop shop for national evaluation capacity development?
Thank you. Dugan, would you like to chip in?
That's a very ambitious goal. I think it would be great if in due course we were able to do that, but I think we understand this business to be one that involves many, many, many stops along the way. I think it's something that is best done collaboratively and collectively. We do want to be a place where people will be able to get information and build relationships, but I don't think it's ever going to be simply a case of stopping in at the GEI and tanking up and being on your way. we will always be having to touch base with a whole range of diverse stakeholders. UN agencies are obviously very high on that list, but really, and I think most importantly, we want to put country governments at the center of the spider web. We really want to see apex institutions at the country level, and they're often presidencies, their ministries of finance, their commissions of planning. Those are the people we want to be servicing first and foremost. And our experience already shows that they're very receptive. They are very appreciative of this intervention, but they also have their own processes and they operate at their own pace. So it's going to be a long haul. We understand this to be a long-term project, but we're down for it. And I think it's exciting that we are getting such positive feedback and that people are able to get on board with this understanding that country ownership, country leadership is what this is about, and the rest of us are in a support role. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dugan. I see people are making good use of our whiteboard. It's filling up quickly with post-its.
If you allow me, let me also recognize the contribution that Indran made when he was the director of an independent evaluation office at UNDP, because he really signed the memorandum of understanding with the IEG to start the initiative. And therefore, I don't know if Indran, you would like to share also your views now that you see that the partnership is up and running.
Oh, thank you very much, Oscar, and greetings, colleagues. I'm very happy it's up and running. This was the initial work, but you all have taken it to a different level, I see, and be assured of the fullest support of IFAD IOE right now on this. It's an important part. I think bringing in UNEG has actually changed the game also significantly, because we're bringing in so many agencies and also the ECG group. So we're very excited about this initiative and look forward to collaborating. Thanks, Oscar, and well done to you and Heather. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Indran. Over to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Indran and Oscar. Since we have two post-its on that, on citizens' participation, maybe you can share a few thoughts or words on that.
Yes, thank you. With the the response to COVID-19 and kind of the shakeup that we have seen after the pandemic, and as we need to recover from it in all the countries, there is a criticism that we need to rethink how the monitoring and evaluation systems really operate, and try to do it in a more inclusive and participatory manner. Try to to include the citizens' participation into monitoring and evaluation systems, so that we can have a direct feedback, a direct line of communication with the end beneficiaries of all the development initiatives. And I think that is a challenge. That is a challenge, not just to work with civil society organizations, but with common citizens, but is a challenge worth the effort. I think collectively we can try to think of new ways of engaging citizens straight into monitoring and evaluation systems, so that we can gather that information systematically and have their voices heard also at the decision-making table. And so it's a challenge, but I hope that collectively we could really move into that direction. I don't know if my other colleagues would like to add anything on that particular topic.
Perhaps I would just add that this is where broadening the partnership at country level to link in with other initiatives that may be supported by other UN agencies or the World Bank or other partners. Of course, I'm speaking as UNDP, there's a lot of work done by our governance teams that's on building citizen engagement in policy processes. And so I think there's potential to partner in relation to those questions when working at country level.
Thank you very much, Oscar and Heather. Here's another question. One key method to develop capacities is learning by doing. Is the GEI considering a mentorship role to accompany evaluators or specialists in the evaluation process?
Yes, and I would like then to invite Dugan to share his reflections on this. But any long-term capacity development initiative should be a combination of training and practice, right? Inevitably, for building those capacities over time, and also enabling the environment so that we have supply and demand for monitoring and evaluation, which means really establishing the system to operate without the support of external partners. That would be ideal. It would be great if we could have kind of, exit strategies for certain supporting countries when the system is already established. And that system established means that the monitoring and evaluation practices are in place. And therefore, the answer is yes. Now, how we do it, perhaps we can speak about it according to the country context, but let me invite also Dugan to share his thinking about this.
Thanks, Oscar. So yeah, I mean, very much so. And we really do understand the importance of being very rooted in people's real life contexts. One of the things we are piloting is a relationship with Eval Youth. And that's on a peer-to-peer initiative that does kind of mentoring and coaching. We really are at this stage working in a space of trying to get our head around so many different things that are going on in the evaluation ecosystem. There's a very strong demand, I think, broadly for evaluation to become more relevant, more appropriate, more responsive, and making very particular space and time for young people, for young evaluators, is very much high on the GEI agenda. We definitely see it as something that is going to ensure the future relevance of evaluation. And mentorships, internships, scholarships, these are all elements of the GEI strategy that we are planning and which we will be rolling out over the next couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dugan. One question on generating M&E knowledge. Is the GEI looking for partnering with UN agencies on generating evidence or at the UNEG level?
Sophie, maybe you want to share your thinking about that, because I think there are many options on the table, and this first encounter is really the beginning of a dialogue, but it would be nice to hear from you as well.
So absolutely. And in fact, we also would like to hear from the audience on what would be the best way to leverage in a way the wealth of knowledge that UN agencies offer. I would say that in principles, we would be looking at you from various angles. I think one is really because many of you have a very strong country presence and also already very strong ECD programs. And so we would love, of course, to work with you to generate knowledge on what works at country level, what are the entry points, which agencies to work with, which agencies have models that work, that can be replicated, scaled up, etc. I think the second angle where you bring tremendous value add is on global public goods and on the SDGs, and of course, evaluations and the SDGs. And as I think Heather mentioned, we would like to focus among others on gender issues and evaluations, on climate issues and evaluation, on youth issues and evaluations, and much more. And so working with you to capture the knowledge that you have already generated, but also to think forward about the future. These are very complex issues, is something that we would love to do. How to do it? I think we would need to be open to all modalities, working directly with specific agencies, with specific country offices of some agencies, or with UNEG as a whole, or with working group of UNEG. I think everything would be open based on your preferences. Stop here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophie. There's also a question if there are any plans to partner with universities to increase the interest in evaluation practice. Is that one on the horizon?
Heather, would you like to respond to that?
The short answer is yes. Universities and academic institutions already have a lot of potentials as think tanks, as researchers, and thus also to be able to help with the evaluation. We're also we will be looking at opportunities to support development of M&E curricula. For example, UNODC has already done quite a bit of work on this with a university in Morocco, and I know there are other examples. So yes, universities are seen as very important potential in-country partners.
And on top of that, you know that the CLEAR centers are really hosted in universities, right? And so that's why that was the bet to include highly respected academic institutions who can dedicate resources and specialized training skills and capacities to develop tailored programs to respond to the needs of training on monitoring and evaluation. So yeah, it's a sounding yes. Perhaps what we have not engaged as much as we could now is the research part of universities and academic institutions, right? So far, it is on the training side, not that much on the research. And that could be fascinating as well as we move forward. But, you know, even the partnership with Better Evaluation is also, you know, a very good platform for continuing this type of exchange in terms of gathering on the supply side the best of expertise available around the different continents where we will be operating, and try to match that offer with the increasing demand and the tailored demand, respecting and understanding the institutional mechanisms and setups of each country in order to support them in a way that is more impactful, where these monitoring and evaluation systems can really improve the quality of decision making for better development results. We are really committed to the vision of the GEI, which is better evidence for better policies, for better lives. You know, it's a very simple vision, right? But it expresses a lot. Better evidence for better policies, for better lives, and therefore there are so many ways to try to make this vision a reality. And the contribution of universities is undoubtedly one of them.
Thank you very much, Oscar. I see that we're slowly starting to run out of time and also out of space on our whiteboard. Thank you very much for filling that up. Oscar and colleagues, do you have any closing words before we close the session?
Really, to thank you, Thomas, Sarah, the working group organizers, right? Katinka, this is great. I think this is the beginning of a very important dialogue, and we really wanted to do it from the working group on upwards, right? So that we can bring the UNEG as a very important player as part of the partnership of the platform of the Global Evaluation Initiative, and we want to thank you for your openness. I also want to again recognize the vision that Indran had at that moment, and thank Sophie for being really the backbone of this initiative from IEG perspective, and Dugan for taking the baton even further with his broad experience, and now putting this all good aims and aspirations into practice, right? And so we know that it will be sometimes a bumpy road, but with the ability, the creativity, and the contribution of all partners, we really want to make a difference, a more coordinated and synergetic support to country monitoring and evaluation capacity development. Heather, you are so critical from our perspective for this initiative. Your last thoughts will be also very much appreciated, and thanks for organizing this.
No, thank you, Oscar, and thank you everybody who's attended and for all of the comments on the mural. One of the reasons we did this is that way we have all of this information. It will allow us to go back and look at all of the comments again, and in addition to the things that have been said here today. So I would just like to say, I think we're all open, Oscar, myself, Sophie, and Dugan, to questions at any level, whether you're coming from a working group, you're coming from an individual agency, to know more about what's happening. And I think we would also be happy to provide periodic updates as the initiative really takes off and grows. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much to Oscar and Hedda for your very interesting presentations and this overview of the GEI initiative. And yeah, thank you to everybody who joined our webinar today. Please feel free to reach out to us anytime. Also to the Partnerships Working Group. We are happy to facilitate any kinds of partnerships. We recorded this webinar and we will send you the recording and also the presentation with a copy of the whiteboard in the next couple of days. So you will have all the information in your emails. So thank you very much again to all of you, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.